And I'm Dr. W. Mataman, the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Business Management and Economics. So thank you. Now we have visited the greater occasion because they are the owners of the program. So we have financial intelligence, and I will ask Ms. Mabel to do the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ruby Munupeti, Principal Analyst at the Financial Intelligence Unit. And with us today, we have Deputy Director, Mr. Kudakashin Ruby. You can just raise your hand, they'll see you. Also have with us Deputy Director, Mr. Chichapa Gaba. And of course, our Director General, Mr. Oliver Chikeresa. And in here we have members of staff from the Financial Intelligence Unit, and at the end of the presentation, the rest of our team will entertain you outside with lots of goodies for those who come to our stand-up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Munupezi. And we also have our esteemed students from various departments across the faculty, and I'm sure even from other faculties. So thank you for coming. Now, without wasting my time, I would also want to call upon the Dean of Faculty, Dr. Mwingi, to give us the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to you all. Mine is just something small. It's to welcome Financial Intelligence Unit to the University of Zimbabwe and to the students that in this auditorium. We know it's in the middle of exams, and we really appreciate that you have found time to come to this gathering. This, I think, as Dr. Matamande said, is an event in which we celebrate with the Financial Intelligence Unit for the work that they are doing to make sure that our financials is integrity. We welcome you, Director General, and your team. We are excited that you chose this day to celebrate with us. We hope to learn about FIU. I think a number of us may have some idea of what you do, but I'm hoping that today we get clarity on the role of FIU. Is FIU responsible for Z? Is FIU responsible for arresting those that are selling foreign currency? I think as an institution, we do have a number. As universities open, we do have a number of dealers that will say, give me your US and I'll give you Z. Do you have any role in FIU? I think there will be a number of areas that you could also just help us understand what the role of FIU is. So I welcome everyone to this event, and I really hope you enjoy the presentation, and I really hope that a lot of questions are going to be answered with regards to anti-money laundering, with regard to terrorist financing, and with regard to illicit financial flows. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. So she has outlined a bit about the intelligence unit. I think we'll hear more. When I read the word intelligence, so sometimes intelligence becomes a bit anything, normal intelligence, like. So we'll hear from them what their intelligence is all about. But this one is not the other intelligence, but about my intelligence. So I'm not sure I would have wanted someone from Panjal Director General or some in address.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully the DG will have all those questions that come through. And fortunately for my role today, my role is simple, just to introduce our Director General, Mr. Oliver Chiperesa. It's a bit of a homecoming for him. He's been a student here, a student of law. So he's back to where he started, academic journey. And please help me welcome our Director General, Mr. Oliver Chiperesa. Hey, let me start by acknowledging the Vice Chancellor of SCT Center. I quit. I recognize the Dean of the Faculty of Business Management Sciences and Economics, Dr. Mvingi. Let me also recognize the other senior members of the faculty, right of this, stakeholders, most importantly, dear students. Good morning to you. Morning. It is a great honor for us to be here today as we commemorate World Financial Intelligence Unit Day. This day provides opportunity to raise awareness about the critical role that financial intelligence units play protecting the integrity of financial systems, combating financial crimes, such as money laundering, terrorism financing, fraud, corruption, cybercrime, and other illicit financial activities. While many people may not immediately associate financial crime with their daily lives, its effects are felt across society. Financial crime diverts resources away from development, undermines public trust, fuels corruption, weakens institutions, and deprives communities of opportunities for growth and prosperity. Every dollar lost through financial crime is a dollar that could have been invested in education, healthcare, infrastructure, or job creation. The Financial Intelligence Unit serves as the National Center for Receiving, Analyzing, Disseminating Financial Intelligence to competent authorities. Our work helps law enforcement agencies, regulators, and policymakers to identify and disrupt criminal networks that seek to abuse the financial system for illicit purposes. Today, however, I would like to focus particularly on the role of young people and students in safeguarding financial integrity. You are living in an era defined by rapid technological advancement, digital payments, mobile money, cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence, and global connectivity. These innovations create enormous opportunities for economic growth and entrepreneurship. At the same time, they present new avenues for criminals to commit fraud, scams, cybercrime, and other financial offenses. As students and future leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs, public servants, and innovators, we have a critical role to play. First, by maintaining high standards of integrity in your personal and professional lives. The fight against financial crimes begins with individual choices, ethical conduct. Second, by becoming informed and vigilant citizens. Many young people are increasingly targeted by online scams, investment frauds, identity theft schemes, and recruitment into criminal activities disguised as legitimate opportunity. Understanding these risks is the first step towards protecting yourselves and others. Third, by using your education, skills, and creativity to develop solutions that strengthen transparency and accountability. Whether you pursue careers in finance, law, information technology, accounting, business, public policy, or any other field, your contribution can help build stronger institutions and more resilient financial systems. I also wish to encourage those of you who may be interested in emerging fields such as data analytics, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, forensic accounting, and financial crime compliance. These disciplines are becoming increasingly important in the global effort to combat sophisticated criminal networks. The future of financial intelligence will depend greatly on innovation and technology, and there is tremendous opportunity for young Zimbabweans to contribute to this evolving landscape. As we commemorate this day, let us remember that combating financial crime is not solely the responsibility of financial intelligence units, nor law enforcement agencies, nor regulators alone. It is a shared responsibility that requires cooperation among government institutions, private sector, academia, civil society, and the public. Universities occupy a special place in this partnership. They shape the next generation of leaders and provide the knowledge, research, and innovation needed to address complex challenges facing society. We therefore value our engagement with the institutions such as the University of Zimbabwe, and in particular the faculty, and look forward to strengthening collaboration in areas of research, awareness, and capacity building. In closing, I encourage each of you, the ambassadors, integrity, accountability, and responsible citizenship. Let us work together to build a society where financial systems are trusted, opportunities are fairly earned, and crime does not profit at the expense of our nation's development. My colleague will come and take the podium to share a little bit more with you on what we actually do in the office as Financial Intelligence Unit and how we contribute to combating financial crimes. Otherwise, happy World Financial Intelligence Day. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Director, for the insightful presentation. If you still have questions, we'll give you a platform. Just one or two questions. But I'm sure now it's becoming clear what to do. Now know that the quite a lot of waste, not only the everyone is committed, combined, particularly the role is innovator around this. So we have a role to assist people, not just them, they are just part of the town, they are part of the in our role, particularly this like design, political control, and all the other areas that you make know. So this is interesting. Very serious. Now to understand further, so the role of financial unit, intelligence unit in combating financial crime. So we're going to ask Mr. Chief Gaba, the big director, financial intelligence unit, to probably explain more, give more insight to on what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director of Ceremony. Director of Ceremonies, allow me to read on the protocols already observed. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everyone. One Chapa Chikaba, Deputy Director, Financial Intelligence Analysis in the Financial Unit, presenting the role of the Financial Intelligence Unit in combating financial crime. In the presentation, I hope I'll be able to answer the questions that have been raised by Dr. Muringi, the Director of Ceremony. So, to start with overview of my presentation, I will touch on the issue of financial crime so that the context where FIUs come, why we have them. I'll also touch on something called the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, this global network in the fight against financial crime. I'll also look at the mutual evaluation process, is coordinated by the Financial Action Task Force. We speak about money laundering and terrorism financing. The Financial Intelligence Unit of Zimbabwe, generally what FIUs are and what we do, special focus on the FIU of Zimbabwe. And I will talk of the FIU's mandate and powers, as well as some new achievements, its work, as well as challenges in areas of collaboration with academia. Then I will speak about something called NAMLA, something called National Task Force, which I will explain in further detail at the present. And all those people, future FIUs, as already alluded by the director of the future work of FIUs. And I will. So when you study story, we started once upon a time. So once upon a time in the 19th, so there was before you heard of a gentleman called Al Capone. He was a big drug dealer in the United States of America. And maybe you also heard about a guy called Mayor Lance. He was working as an accountant, Al Capone. His criminal enterprise was so profitable that he needed to hire an accountant. And then who present, you understand that the money laundering business also need accountants, need lawyers, so as you learn. So Al Capone and Lansky, they realized that law enforcement was after them. But the big red flag which put them at risk of being arrested was the money that they make. They had to conceal the money because the money would form part of the FD, which would take it to jail. So what did Al Capone do? Al Capone, he went into business, started laundromats, like cleaning shop, small ones, a lot of washing people's suits, $1, $2. Incidentally, the cost of washing a suit, maybe it's equivalent to the price of the piece of cocaine on the street corner. So you could collect money from cocaine, bank it in a bank, it would look like money coming from the laundromat. Yet it was money coming from cocaine. Of course, the laundromat was also working. He was forming the proceeds from the drug with the proceeds, the little proceeds from the laundromats. Thereby, he was laundering. I think that's where the name money laundering came from. Law enforcement eventually discovered that Lanky and Capone, they were not laundering any suits. They were actually laundering the money because the money that they were getting. My friends in the FIU, they say, okay, what if Al Capone had gone in the beer business? What would it be called now? That would be beer laundering. I don't know. So that is how it. So they were using the laundromat, money laundered for their money laundering criminal activity, money laundering. And in the 1980s, sorry, so you heard of a guy called Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was a big drug dealer. They say approximately was making $420 million a week from his drug traffic business. And the funds were laundered through this one. More advanced one. He was using things like real estate and private real estate. He was using art really. It was painting pieces of art, well restored, mortgage brokerage company. That was Pablo Escobar. So around 1983 to 1984, actually Pablo, when he made sufficient money, criminal activity, laundering, he actually ran for office, joined politics. He wanted to run the whole country. That would be the ultimate protection for him from law enforcement. See, so this is one of the consequences we are going to discuss. The ultimate consequence is when criminals do it well, they want to run, they want to steal both things. Yeah. So as you can see, Pablo wanted to run country. It means criminals everywhere, they wanted to run to take over the country. So the G7 countries, most developed economies of the world, they realized the threat. It meant money laundering and crime was becoming a threat to the global economy or even to the national security. Because criminals, they wanted to run countries, use them as fiefdoms to pursue criminal enterprise. So in 1989, the G7 countries met in Paris and they formed an organization called the Financial Action Task Force. As I will explain, Financial Action Task Force is a intergovernmental body that was formed, coordinate the fight against money laundering. They realized if you effectively fight against financial crime, target the money laundering. What is the so? And later, as time went on, the problems also with terrorism. It was realized that terrorism actually is driven by money. So if you want to stop terrorism, target the terrorism by money. So terrorism financing recommendation were every 40 recommendations that were issued by the FIU. So they included terrorism financing. Down the road, around 2012, the FIU published the revised recommendations. We also include, because they realized that there is a problem of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. And obeying all those things, the requirement. So they included recommendations to do with proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. So now when we speak, we say we're in the business of anti-money laundering, counter financing of terrorists, and counter proliferation financing weapons of mass destruction. Because of the financial, that is why we come in there. So the FATF, their major business is the 40 recommendations, which they are continuously reviewing because the threat, the risk of crime, risk of money laundering, risk of TF is always there. It's dynamic like any other risk, it's always changing. So you have to continue changing the recommendations to align the major risk. So there are the 40 recommendations. There are still 40, but they're always changing. So one of the major, besides just having the recommendations, they also ensure that countries, because if you fight money laundering in one country and you allow the other country to do what it wants, the money launderers will just go to that country, start laundering their money, spread the global economy from there. Terrorists will also go to that country and they'll also do the terrorism thing. So it's a global threat coordinated by the Financial Action Task Force. So you find they are direct members of the Financial Action Task Force. These are the big economies of the world. They are direct members. I think in Africa here, we used to have Nigeria and South Africa. Currently, we just have South Africa. The rest of smaller economies, we are members through what are called FIU style regional bodies. So FIU style regional bodies, they're most relevant to us here, Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group, which is headquartered in Zambia. So ESAMLA, its work, it actually implements FATF standards on behalf of the FATF itself. To us, ESAMLA is just like the FATF. So one of the major things it does, they do mutual evaluation exercise. In the past, it was once every 10 years, they will come into our country. There are the 40 standards. We have to domesticate those standards through our law. We have to have laws that align with those standards. So our main piece of legislation in Zimbabwe is the Money Laundering and Process of Crime Act. That is where most of the standards are domesticated through. And that's technical compliance. But we've realized that beyond technical compliance, just having laws is not enough to fight money laundering. Because just having laws, you have to effectively implement and use those laws to fight crime. So they also look at how compliant are you in terms of the law. Then they also look at how are you effectively implementing those. So there are various focal areas that they assess us. So those mutual evaluation exercises, one way is going forward once every 6 years. Maybe let me touch on how the mutual evaluation process works. So after 10 years, maybe after 6 years, we'll be given a date that Zimbabwe will due for mutual evaluation this year. For example, now we're due for mutual evaluation. I think the mutual evaluation is already started, 26, 2010, 27. So we are currently doing the technical compliance. We're doing the questionnaire, the SAMLA. Yeah. So it starts with the selection of it's a peer review. So they will pick assessors, various countries in the SAMLA region, maybe one from Lesotho, one from South Africa, one from Uganda. They make a team. That team will be given focal areas that they'll be looking at. Yeah. Focal areas for the immediate outcome. Areas effective. And each immediate outcome, it has got a related recommendation standard which leads to that. So assessor will be given one immediate outcome and the relevant key for the recommendation. So they set up a team. Our team is already set. We introduce our team. We had 1 or 2 meetings with them. Who submit the questionnaire, the TC questionnaire, where we answer on recommendation number 1, Zimbabwe, what have you done? Give you the provisions of the law that we have with that recommendation. So from number 1 to number 40, they will look at it and they will give us feedback. No, Zimbabwe, we think you are compliant in this one, and this one. And by the way, from last evaluation, we have been doing very well. We were compliant, we largely compliant with 37 out of it, which is quite major. Many countries in the world have such a team. So that is the team. They will look at that, ask us and so forth. Then they'll come up with a final report. You are compliant, partially compliant, non-compliant, and this one. So yeah. So that's the PC. After the PC is done, the same team will be required to make a questionnaire where we will give a write-up on each of the immediate focal area. For example, the immediate outcome one, focal area number 1 looks at youth coordination, because you can't, to fight money laundering, to fight TF, you have to be aware of this so that you will respond to this together. Otherwise, you can't be fighting the small ones, the big ones, and the medium ones at the same time. You'll exhaust your resources before you make any. So there will be effectiveness questionnaire. Again, to go to assessors, they will do their review, and they will come up with their rating and so forth. But follow after that, then they will then come into the country to do interviews, to verify what we have written and get evidence whether we are effective in all those immediate outcomes. Today, I'm not explaining the immediate outcomes, maybe that is discussion for another day. But they will come into the country. In this cycle, they are due to come to Zimbabwe in January, February 2027. That's the come. They'll come in for 21 days. They can be talking to everyone in the AMA or CFT value chain to assess our effectiveness. Then they produce a report. The report will start some like plenary for adoption and then publish. The publication of the report doesn't mean we're finished with all. That is actually where work starts, because there will be gaps that they will identify and you will be required to implement those gaps. Because the purpose of the mutual evaluation really is not to catch someone, but is to identify gaps to strengthen the country's CFT. That is the purpose. That is the purpose of that. So real work will start after that. That one is just the next slide is just a glimpse of how our region, the Samlak region, how we performed in the last evaluation, as we were evaluated in 2016. In other countries, I think that there various things. So this is how the region performed. As you can see, the HT, which is highly effective for when you can be just minor improvements in finding this MLC in the whole region, in the any even the FE stage of effectiveness we didn't have. Why? It is because in the last mutual evaluation, that's when we started evaluating this effective. So it was a new thing then. So many people didn't do very well. But we hope this time around, we're going to do better because we're going to better prepare and now understand effectiveness. We invested a lot of work in fighting our financial crime. As compared to 2016, we are now way much better than we were in 20, not just at the whole region. Then I move to that beautiful picture there. That's the summarization. That is money laundering happening there. See that there, drugs, that vault here there, guns. So those are the offense, not dealing, maybe legal dealing in firearms and so forth, arms trafficking and so forth, produce a lot of money. Those guys are looked after. And then the laundromat cleaning in the briefcase as now legitimate. So what is money laundering? Then define money laundering. What is money laundering? So generally, money laundering is a process of concealing or legitimizing these gains of criminal activity. Meaning dirty money, taking the process of criminal activity and making them appear. It's very important for criminals to do that because if those as I say, those processes of crime, they are evil. Prove that it is to legalize. So that is money laundering. So for money laundering to take place, it means there must be an underlying offense committed somewhere, usually call it predicate offense. And this predicate offense generates financial gain, process of crime. It doesn't mean the person who is laundering is the one who have committed predicate offense. It could be someone in Zimbabwe or someone outside Zimbabwe. It can be transnational. So we usually talk of stages of money laundering, displacement in the financial system, layering, money is moved back and forth, distance to the source, and integration. But in most cases, it doesn't really follow this process. It can happen, some just means clearing and so forth. So all countries are required by FATF to criminalize money laundering. Because as you can see, money laundering. To criminalize money laundering and go after money launderers, very effective controlling fighting. So in one of its recommendations, the standard I was talking about, standard number 3 or recommendation 3, it requires that all countries criminalize money laundering. So in Zimbabwe, we have done so. We have criminalized under Section 8 of our law called Money Laundering and the Proceeds of Crime Act, where we have criminalized money laundering. So you can go look for the money laundering process of crime to see exactly how that is our legal definition of money laundering in Zimbabwe. Yeah. So there is a diagram there showing, the next slide shows the money laundering process from collection of dirty money, place it in the financial system, then you layer it by moving. Sometimes you layer it by moving from one bank to another to another. Sometimes the foreign bank, transfer it and so forth, buy assets, sell assets, and so forth. Then when it is integrated, it's now very, very distant with the brand. And you can now use pages like you become a business. You will not be called a criminal, say prominent businessman. Because money which is legitimate. So that is the placement. What is placement? Placement really, this is where dirty money is brought in. You can give the dirty money to many people, and ask them to make small deposits and transfer. You see, like in the case of Al Capone, he was taking his money, depositing in the name of the laundromat. It is done in many ways. Yeah, like in the area of gambling, you can go to a casino and exchange cash for casino chips. People just take a bag of money, go to a casino, buy those casino chips. You can take those casino chips home and allow. You can go back home and liquidate the indication. Get a check in the casino. You've got money, you've won, you call him money. So you lose lots of money. Yeah. Or you can even go step up, control, buy the whole casino, make it yours. So that you say you are profiting from the business. Don't play that on it. But also you can run a cash changes business. Running a business, a lot of cash, it will confuse everyone. When you are taking cash to the bank, you think this kind. So that place. Few examples. There are many, many ways in which to do this. And I think that is why FIUs are there. Because if these were the only ways, easy for the police to catch people because they just go to casino and this was so. But it's always a lot before them. So on the layering stage, yeah, examples, there's something called trade-based money laundering. So in trade-based money laundering, this is when you are laundering through trade. You take process of crime, place them in a bank, use them to buy goods, groceries, goods like fuel, and so on. Take this. It's a way of layering. Then there's something we call jurisdiction hopping. Make numerous transfers through several reasons that law enforcement spend a lot of time tracing the money. Money moved to Zimbabwe, to Zambia, to Mozambique, to Malawi, then it goes to China. See, it's coming from all those people come back to Zimbabwe. So at the business all over, money is coming back. Then it's something they call trade, change the form of laundromat, move to this after to change the so-called like and then you cash out your account or deposit cash in another bank, convert money to stock, then to another currency, buy certified diamonds, gold, bullions, cash, and then complex movement of money, layering. Integration. So other methods, back-to-back loans, pretend to get a loan from a foreign friend for a long time, or agree with the banker, make a deposit in one branch of the bank and get a loan in another. Use the deposit as collateral, tell everyone they've obtained the loan, yet you actually have the money. So it happens. It happens. Yeah. Then you do the buy low, sell high. Buy something really cheap, a piece of art, or agree with settler of real estate to pay 10% officially and the other 90% in cash. Something like that. Now you have proof of a cheap purchase, then sell the property for real value. Now you have, so you have bought this for $1 million, but you have a receipt which says you bought it for 100,000 because you negotiated clever inflation. Then you sell it for value, nothing is changed. Yeah. we have implemented. It's just a examples of how they do. And it's very dynamic. Maybe we are talking of these new ones assisted by AI. Next slide. We talk of terrorism. So that's what money laundering. Terrorism financing. So terrorism financing is different from money laundering. So terrorism financing is the act of providing financial resources to individuals, organizations that they support terrorists. Anything you do that. Even buying a terrorist Coca-Cola, financing terrorism. Yeah. So that is financing of terrorism. So terrorist organizations can obtain funding from various sources. See, money laundering comes from illegal sources. But terrorism financing, it can come from legitimate sources. A terrorist organization can actually run a mine in Zimbabwe, legitimate gold mine, selling to official, to Fidelity Gold Refinery, doing all things right. But the profit is going to finance a terrorist organization. Sometimes they use this process from criminal activities, drug trafficking, to make a lot of money, to finance terrorism, fraud, smuggling, kidnapping, human trafficking, all sorts of crimes. They can use that also to finance terrorism. But mind you, they can also use legitimate business. So detection of terrorism financing is a bit more difficult, different from money laundering in that district. So TFS, or this stage as well. We talk of fundraising, actual raising fund, that's the basic thing. Whether it's from legitimate business, criminal activity, fundraising. They move the fund. Because usually the fundraising is not done in the terrorist hotspot. Where the bombs explode, usually that's not where the fundraising. It happens in a very peaceful country, far away from the action. So you have to move it from the source to the theater where the bombs explode. Then the last stage is the utilization. The terrorists, they use money from many people, buy bombs, buy materials for making bombs, even to recruit those people, the suicide, they are paid. The families need to be looked after. Terrorism financing comes in to entice them to explode themselves in exchange for benefits of families. So again, FATF requires all countries to criminalize TF because of its administrative consequence. So recommendation 5 is done out of the 40. So in Zimbabwe, we have criminalized TF under Section 9, the Money Laundering Process of Crime Act. Next slide is proliferation financing. So what is proliferation financing? This one is different from money laundering and TF. This one is to do with weapons of mass destruction. So proliferation financing refers to providing funds or financial services that support the development, acquisition, or spread of weapons of mass destruction. This includes by financing the production, trade, or use of nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and the elements of proliferation. It also encompasses facilitating the movement or transfer of things called dual use goods. There are certain goods that are used for purpose, which can be used for making bombs, or which can be used for both civilian and military purposes. Dual use goods to be subject for another day. It has got its own stages as well. So, first stage is program fundraising, raising the fund. Then you have to disguise those funds so that when you go and buy the dual use and so forth, they will not suspect NPA. Then procurement, proliferation sensitive materials, technology. Again, recommendation says that PPT requires criminalization we are required to undertake targeted financial sanctions against proliferation financing. So this one is different. There are countries, the North Korea and Iran. Those are the ones that are sanctioned by the United Nations Council on these weapons of mass destruction. So we have to implement the sanctions. There are people who are listed, companies that are, we must make sure in the country we don't deal with those countries. There are people in those companies indeed. And we must make sure that those individuals, they don't even come into our country. They come in, we should make sure that they're arrested. We must make sure that we must not move their goods through our country. We must find them and freeze them. The United Nations Security Council. So now I come to the financial intelligence unit itself. I've given you background, the history, and everything. So we come to the financial intelligence. So the financial intelligence unit, in terms of the financial action task force standard, every country of this planet must, and I think all of them, I don't know of any country that doesn't have, all of them financial intelligence unit. So what is the purpose of a financial intelligence unit of a country? In summary, I will expand it out. The main function of an FIU is to receive, analyze, disseminate, receives financial data, analyze the financial data, and produce financial intelligence that is shared with law enforcement, pursue money laundering, pursue terrorist financing, also pursue weapons of mass destruction. That is their broad definition. However, structures of FIUs may differ from country to country. You will hear that others have administrative FIUs, others have law enforcement, others have FIUs which are in the judiciary. So in Zimbabwe, we have an administrative FIU, which is under the administration of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. So our FIU is structured. It has got looks like this. We have got 5 departments in the FIU. It's headed by our Director General, Mr. Oliver Peresa. We have got 5 departments. One of the departments is called the Financial Intelligence Analysis Department. That's the department that receives, analyzes, and determination, but it's strongly supported by our compliance department. Compliance department is the one which makes sure that things called accountable institutions, which I will explain. Because without those accountable institutions, identifying suspicious transactions will give us financial data with nothing to see, analyze, disseminate. So we have a compliance function which looks after accountable institutions to ensure that they comply with the standard and they give us the data that we need. We also have a policy and strategy department. As I said, it's a risk-based approach. So we do risk assessment. I'll explain. We do risk assessments once every 5 years, sometimes once every 2 years. From those risk assessments, we see the money laundering risk of Zimbabwe, the threat, vulnerabilities, and everything. And we come up always after risk assessment, come up with a strategy. Because the risk assessment will show us where we have gaps. So we have a strategy to implement and plug those gaps. The policy and strategy does that for us. They coordinate risk assessment. They come up with this, coordinate the strategy formulation, and they monitor the implementation of the strategy. We also have an inspectorate. Dr. Lim was saying, are you only for the ZIG and so forth? So we have an inspectorate. We have another law that we administer called the Banking Promotion Act. That one looks at banking of cash by traders, maintenance of records, other obligations by trader. It is related to money laundering because one of the major risks that we face, the problems we have is the cash economy. So we have to make sure that traders who deal with a lot of cash, money goes into the bank so that we are able to really look at the money and track it. Otherwise, it is cash circulating. So we have inspectorate. Then also we have the legal. Say here, it's technical compliance. It's recommendations converted to law. So we need to have legal, which looks at the standard. How are they evolving? Are there any changes? Do we need to come up with a new amendment to the law and to make sure that we are compliant and our law enforcement are capacitated to deal with the risk and so forth? So we also have legal. So those are the 5 departments in the FIU. There I'm explaining the roles of the financial intelligence analysis section. So as I indicated, its main function is to receive financial data. So what financial data does it? The law requires all accountable institutions, all financial institutions, including banks, non-bank financial institutions, designated non-financial business institutions. These are the lawyers, the accountants, casinos, and so forth. That's it. They're all required to. The law requires them to spy on their client, to make sure that you are not abused for money. So you have to look out with transaction to say, this person, we have got his KYC, we know him, it's filled in a form, we know where he works. We look at, how much is coming into his account? Is there something suspicious? If they find something, they report to us. Then there is other data called STR, CTR, that I'll explain as I go. So they analyze the data, receive purpose of analysis is to detect cases of suspected money laundering, to disseminate financial intelligence, suspected MFTF, and other crimes to appropriate law enforcement agents. So we have various law enforcement agencies we deal with. The police, specifically the CID, they are the ones who deal with the crime of fraud, crime of money laundering itself, talk of drugs, the team that deals with drugs and narcotics and so on. Biggest consumer of financial intelligence, the police through their CID. Anti-Corruption Commission as well. Cases of corruption we share with the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission and tax evasion. It is a problem in Zimbabwe. One of the major predicate offenses we share with tax evasion. Then, of course, the National Intelligence Service as well. It mainly works closely with the unit of police called the CID counter-terrorism, which investigates cases of terrorism financing. If they are identified, they work closely with the National Intelligence Service. Why do they work with them? Because the National Intelligence Service, by its nature, it is the one which is responsible for what is called national rate of terrorism. They are the ones who deal with terrorism. So terrorism financing, terrorism related to the way to. He who knows a terrorist must be interested in his friend. He who knows who is funding terrorists must know who just so they work together to find each other, do their business. So one of the things that we do as well, we assist law enforcement agents with provision information that access the FIU, we have power in terms of our law. It gives us power to access information without the search warrant. Section 6, which says you can get information from anyone. It doesn't violate anyone's rights because we don't arrest anyone. We just get information. When we get information, we give law enforcement, who then use their powers to arrest if they find it. So we have access. That is one of our functions. We help them with that financial intelligence, which we get from our internal databases, or even asking from others, other law enforcement agencies, foreign FIUs, and so on. So these things, they want usually are called KYC records when they arrest someone, find someone, they want to know who exactly is the person. And in the FIU, we are the guys who know everyone. My guys tell me that when they go out, with young ones as well, when they see young ladies, all they want is just the name. They will find the phone number. So that's how we are. So they also ask for things called beneficial ownership information. It's very important when you're dealing with the suspect that are companies. If you want to know if it is involved in crime, there must be an individual who is benefiting from crime. So you want to know beneficial ownership information. We help with that. After tracing and ownership, do that as well to help the law enforcement. We also give guidance, although we are not really investigators, but you will learn that when you are an FIU, you have a bit of an investigator, a bit of an accountant, and a fortune teller as well, because they ask you to. You can't, when DG asks what is happening here, we can't say we don't know. We have to have an estimate all the time. That's the nature of financial intelligence unit. So we actually give guidance on cases, but what guidance do we give them? We understand the financial sector. So usually when they're pursuing money laundering, it's about money. So when they have their cases, they come and explain this is how it happened. So we know exactly what data to find them and give. Some we have it in our databases, some we know where to look for it and give. So that's what we do for them. So also the FIU is authorized in terms of Section 37 to share intelligence with foreign FIUs. So money laundering, financial crimes, transnational. Abana, there is no case that you can really do and there's no movement of money. So as we have got power, talk to foreign FIUs, ask for information, give information and so on. So we do that for law enforcement by giving them financial intelligence foreign jurisdiction. In some cases, we actually help them. If money is stolen in here, goes to South Africa, we can, within a day, we can talk to South Africa and they can find the money and they can freeze it without any court order. See? So that's what we do. So, and we do training for law enforcement agents. Usually on new trains, the method of launderers and criminals. And that's what we do. Then also we get, as we are trusted very much, we even get tax information on persons from the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority without any court order. I'm sure you have that tax information is confidential and cannot be shared with anyone, but we do share with them. but for purposes of helping law enforcement. Yes. So we also do strategic analysis. I will talk about strategic analysis later in the presentation. We carry out strategic analysis studies. These are focused studies on subjects that we have been found to be problematic. Like, for example, recently, there was a trend that we noted. Everyone was asking, fuel stations are coming up everywhere, even in residential areas. What? So the question that we asked, what is happening? If you looked at it, why is it happening? Like, so such question, if I use to do that, can actually unpack such. So I invite you, you can go on our website, you can look for a typology study on that subject. You can read it, you really learn a lot. Strategic and various others that we do. Not all of them, we don't publish all of them. Some of them are quite sensitive. We only produce them and circulate to relevant authorities. It's not everything that we produce that we publish on the website, but we do a lot in that area. So also we have powers to freeze assets. We are Section 40A of the Bank Use Promotion Act. We have power to freeze assets. So when law enforcement are pursuing a criminal, they find money in an account. For them to freeze an account, you need to go to court, you need to write long documents, go to court and convince a judge to freeze, as we don't need. So we use those powers to temporarily freeze funds, freeze assets, to allow police to get the relevant papers so that they can actually go after the asset. So those are some of our powers. We are central agents for collection and maintenance of data and statistics, AML, CFTC. Yeah, this data is for law enforcement and for our digital that allow us to give this to universities and for fighting crime. So I go to the compliance section as I've indicated. Our compliance, these are the guys who implement the preventive measures, prevent money laundering, preventive. So we have to prevent. If it happens, we have to detect and investigate and so forth, then prosecute and what they are the prevention guys. So they work closely with what we call competent supervisor authorities. So as I said, they're responsible for ensuring compliance by all the reporting entities or the obligated entities or the accountable institutions. The financial institutions, that is the banks, insurance companies, securities, and everyone. They are all required by law to monitor transactions, to look at their clients and report if they identify something suspicious. So they're the ones who make sure that these people are compliant. So they carry out what are called on-site, they do off-site, looking, they receive reports, they look at it and so forth, and look at clips and so forth, and they go on-site as well to do actually an audit site to see whether they are really compliant with the various obligations. Yeah. And they work closely with that, what are called competent supervisors. Otherwise, the FIU, if we to supervise everyone, would have a whole battalion, a big team. They work with supervisors. So, for example, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is the supervisor, banking institutions. Security Exchange Commission of Zimbabwe supervises the security sector, the whole security sector, all people in that sector, they're supervised by sector. IPEC looks after the insurance sector, Law Society looks after the law, the lawyers. I told you lawyers are obligated to report to others when they see some clients. So casinos, I think it's gaming board and so forth. So there are various supervisors authorities that, but the FIU, they are the ultimate supervisor. They take care of their institutions like DNFs that they directly supervise, but even these that are supervised by supervisor, they're also responsible for the supervising authorities. So that is how the reporting institutions is indicated the financial business systems, non-financial business occupations, and the reporting entities are required to carry out some of the obligation. They must fully identify their customer. That's why when you open a bank account, you have to give a picture, give your payslip, proof of address. See, it's Mr. Nwe who wants this thing. To make sure that they know their person, so that when he deviates from whatever he is stated, they can face it next year. First, they want to understand, is anything changed with the client? If they doesn't make sense, they report. They want to report to Mr. Nwe, they report to us, financial intelligence analysis. Because now it is a suspicious perspective. So they are also obligated to monitor their transaction. They actually deploy IT tools to monitor transaction to see is there anything unusual happening. They are mandatorily required to do this, because if they fail, Mr. Nure can penalize administrative penalty. And if it is serious, criminal liability can also be. They are required to report suspicious and threshold transaction reports, as I indicated. The policy and strategy section, as I indicated, it is responsible for ensuring that the country's AML safety regime is compliant with all the regional and global AML safety expectations. Yeah. So they are responsible for coordinating the national, we've got something called the National Task Force activity. I will deal with that later. They also process, we have a big interest in cash withdrawals. We don't want people to withdraw a lot of money. So they oversee that area. Processing and approval of excess cash withdrawal application. Yeah. Currently, I think it's 30,000 zip a week for companies and 10,000 US dollars per day for companies. For individuals, 3,000 zip a week and 1,000 US dollars per day for individuals. So, yeah. And also they do review when a new product, DG was talking about making technology. So new products come because the banks, they will never stop innovating. They always come up with new products. But we require them to do proper risk assessment to ensure that they have sufficient safeguards to prevent those products being abused for money laundering. So these guys in the policy and strategy, they review those risk assessments to ensure that they've done a good job in the assessment. They've got a strategy a key player in the authorization of those new products. So that is what the policy and strategy. Inspectorate section, they are responsible for ensuring that traders, they focus mainly on traders, those people who trade, selling goods and services, complying with the Bank Use Promotion Act through banking, mainly banking of sales, cash sales mostly. It is also responsible for ensuring that traders are compliant with the Bank Use Promotion Act through affording customers different payment platforms. So we see in our country sometimes traders say, no, I don't want ZIC, I want US dollar. Or I want ZIC, I don't want US dollar and so forth. Mr. Tawin will say, no, you must accept everything, and you must have a point of sale machine so that someone can swipe his ZIC and so forth. So that's what they do. They also ensure that traders are compliant with the Exchange Control Act. That is the using the right exchange and accepting both challenges and so forth. So that is the duty of the inspectorate section. Then the legal section, I think, has explained this one, ensuring that all the legislation administered FIU is up to date and sufficient for effective execution, FIU mandate, advising the DG and FIU on all legal matters. They are also responsible for ensuring that the country is technically compliant with the FATF. These are the guys who really look at the standards. What is changing? Every plenary, every meeting of the FATF, they want to see what has changed. Is Zimbabwe compliant? How can we tweak the law to make sure that we are compliant? They keep us compliant with the standards. So, and of course, because the FIU also ICT section. This IT section was directly to DG's office, responsible for ensuring that all the IT software and hardware needs of FIU are met. Because the FIU very dependent on IT software, especially for our analysis. We can't do it manually. We do too much data. We can't handle it manually. So they're also responsible for ensuring the safety and security. Once we have data, we must make sure that criminals, because criminals will be very interested to know what we have. And if it is possible, a criminal would want to put into our database and delete everything we know about him. So, Mr. We should make sure that we are secure and safe. No criminal comes in to steal our data. We use things called OML and other IT tools for our workflow engine as well as our analytical process. They also, you find now, the FIU's work is always changing, very dynamic. We can't go into a shop and buy an IT tool that really suits what we want. So we rely on internal development of IT tools, which is one area where we think universities can really help us. to develop tools that we can use for specific purposes. Some of the tools I'll tell you sometimes when we inflationary period, we were looking at the parallel market, and so wanted tools that can enable us to identify parallel market dealer. But when things stabilize, we don't need. So if we spend a lot of money buying that, it will become redundant, we have lost money. So our IT section is on development of tools, various tools that we need to work. So we have been talking of tools, IT and so forth and receiving. But where does the FIU really get its data? Do the analysis and dissemination. So our main source of data are the reporting entities. These give us suspicious transactions, which are those reports that they give us when they identify something suspicious in the customer's account. There are others called suspicious activity reports when they see suspicious activity by a client without a transaction. Like a client can come into the bank carrying a bag of cash and say, you ask some few questions, how do I open an account here and so forth, given account requirements, then he walks out. It's suspicious there with cash, maybe it's an Al Capone or something. So those are activity reports. We also get things called EFTs, electronic funds transfer reports. These ones, we have not committed any offense. We just have a threshold to say everyone who has deposited cash, $5,000 and above, tell us about it. So they give us a big Excel spreadsheet every week to say these are the guys who deposited 5,000. These are the guys who do 5,000. EFTs, we have got also those who have transferred above threshold, received or transferred, we get all that data. IFTs, people receiving money above the threshold from various countries. We use these ones for identifying money movement in risky jurisdictions. So, Keisha has spoken about it. We have things called CPRs. These are reports that come from customs. Everyone who walks through a border into Zimbabwe, out of Zimbabwe, carrying cash, you are required to declare to your customs officer. Customs will ask you how much money are you carrying. If you are above a certain threshold, they will tell me on the same day that we have got Mr. George here. He was carrying 2 million out of Zimbabwe. He had all the papers, with him it was okay, but we just want that this is what George is doing. If he's coming again, we know. We do this. This is how we accumulate data. This is why my guys, if you give them, I'm sure from all this, I'm sure you know that I know you. Because if you have made 5,000, received 5,000 in any currency, I know you very well. All I need is your name, then I will have your ID number, your phone number, your address, and everything up. Wherever you have been sending money to, and we have other databases, I can find whoever you are giving money for the past from 2006 up to yesterday. So you see, so that is the data that we have. So we also access law enforcement intelligence. We work very closely with law enforcement. We will get, when we're analyzing people or persons, we can always check with law enforcement. They give us without a search warrant. They tell us everything they know about that person. Criminal records, because we get from the court, police, everything. Supervisor and regulator, those supervisors I was talking about, we share information with them. They tell us when we want information, they always give us. Government agencies, tax authorities, I explained, assets registries, civil registries, actually have online access to say, okay, this is close to friends. We get his ID number. As well as this family tree, who is he related to? Because they usually launder through their relatives. Motor vehicle registry, very useful. Want to identify motor vehicle, but we have noted that some of the vehicles are not registered in the name of the criminal. So the insurers will tell us that George, although he doesn't have a car in his name, he has insured this car, in that car, in that car, in that car. We know that it's his car. How can you insure someone else? So we've got diverse sources of information. So, yeah. So customer due diligence information, transaction records, and everything. It's all open and available to us. Court records, open source. Our guys from strategic, the net every day. They are looking at open source. Like the guys who go there and just type frauds, they'll get all cases of fraud that are known in the media, so forth. And we use that for initiate analysis, so forth. Then we also get from other FIUs, we cooperate, Section 37, explain, we cooperate to get information on targets of interest for other foreign FIUs. And also, now let me talk about the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units. This is one of the most important organizations that we deal with. We are part of, we are a member of the Egmont. So this is an international network of financial intelligence. I said FATF, intergovernmental. Right? Egmont is an association of financial intelligence. And this was established on 9 June of 1995 at a place called the Egmont Palace in Brussels in Belgium. So that is what does it do? Its main purpose is to foster cooperation and secure information exchange among FIUs worldwide to combat money laundering, terrorist financing, and financial crimes. It offers secure channel called the Egmont Secure Web for FIUs to share information with other FIUs globally. So Zimbabwe, we joined the FIU, the Egmont Group in July 2023. And I can tell you, since our joining of the Egmont Group, it has revolutionized the quality of financial intelligence we are producing now. Because before joining Egmont, we could only talk to our neighbors, South Africa, Namibia, and others who know us. And we're doing MOU, the memorandum of understanding, sometimes they do not answer. Now this Egmont Group, it has got very strong rules which say, if you are asked by a fellow FI, which is a member of this club, you must respond. Not just respond, quality response and on time. And you tell them even things that they have not asked. Because they always put a sentence there, any other intel that you may have on this stuff. You say, we're looking for emails done, armed robbery here, so we're looking for his bank accounts. They will put any other information. So if he has assets that is acquired in the country, we are obligated. Yeah. So very poor. So FIUs, they access information from places that we have never been to. They come every day. So going to few successes by the FIU Zimbabwe. So there is a case we always talk about there. It's a recent one. So there was a company in Zimbabwe, the agro processing sector. They were hit by cyber fraud. It's called business email. So they got a supplier in South Africa who supplies the raw materials. So this criminal filtrates start speaking to the company here. Because they take some time looking at the communications, how we are talking to each other. So he gets in talking to him. Then it's at the opportune time. When an order has been placed, he says, no, we are very sorry. We have changed banking details. We've changed banking details. Our bank account is now up. This blue jacket street, whatever. So the company then sent millions, $2 million that were sent there. So when the company then followed up with this supply, so we paid, we have not received any supplies. We have not received any payment. And they start, the reports are made, so forth. So the police comes to us to say, no, we have this case. The money has been taken, but it's going to South Africa. And they say it has gone to a wrong account and so forth. So what does FIU do in this case? We just pick a phone, talk to our friends in South Africa, say we have got an agent one. We put in the correct papers with the right request through our Egmont Secure Web. They get it, they liaise with their law and put their asset recovery units. Those are the ones who then go to court to say we have reasonable suspicion. Money that came from Zimbabwe, stolen from company and so forth, they go and freeze. Not just freeze the money in the criminal. There was some which was in the, I think we found out 500,000 was still in the account of the criminal. But the other funds have already moved. They froze that money which was still in the account, rest in a good way. And they did find where it had gone. Some was traded in secondary, some in tertiary account, some assets were identified which we actually purchased using the process of crime, all frozen. I think the first tranche came back immediately, and the other balance has come back. I don't know now how much has really come back. The property was due for auction. If there was no FIU there, the police would write what is called mutual legal assistance request. For starters, they would not even know the account that received. Maybe they will know the account number that received the money. But the secondary account where the money went to, they would never, because they have no jurisdiction to ask the bank in South Africa. It's only the FIU. So they would have lost everything. In fact, even to do the mutual legal assistance, the process to do the papers, send people, it takes a long time. When you're investigating financial crime, time is very important. Because when the criminal gets wind that is being investigated, he starts selling assets, converting it to cash, maybe into cryptocurrency. If you are not regulating those, you convert to crypto, you take him to court, the court will say, no, it's not. So many things. You take money, cash, put it under a bill and so on. So time is very important. So that's why we do this financial intelligence. It's called intelligence-led investigation. That is what is required for fighting money laundering and financial crime. Risk assessments. The FIU is successfully now with a culture of risk management, fight against money laundering. Every 5 years, we do a national risk assessment on money laundering. Our first one was in 2015. We did another one in 2019. The most recent was in 2020. This is an achievement because not all countries have managed. Some countries have done one, others two, others maybe they haven't done any. Us, we have entrenched the culture of implementing this because risk assessment, that is what results in a risk in the fight against financial crime. So we've done risk assessment. Initially, we're doing money laundering tier, but now we have done proliferation financing risk assessment, even discussing virtual assets, legal persons and arrangements, how these legal persons, the companies are used for money laundering. We've done several of these risk assessments. We've even done a tax evasion risk of tax evasion, because tax evasion is a perennial predicate offense in our threat matrix. We've also done even environmental crime risk assessment. I think now we can do any risk assessment that we can think within trade. It's a success. Domestic cooperation, very strong domestic cooperation in Zimbabwe. And this is due to the Financial Intelligence Unit, which is the centerpiece or the central agent which coordinates cooperation in the fight against money laundering, TF, and crime. So, and also through that domestic cooperation, we have successfully developed a curriculum for training investigators of financial crime. We were assisted by SEC in Africa, and this curriculum is now owned by our police staff college, which is training financial crime investigators in Zimbabwe. In the area of strategic analysis, we are doing various studies, which I've been referring to. We have managed to inform policymakers. Strategic analysis informs police, AML safety policy, the other policies. We inform them on policy gaps and measures that are needed to be taken to address the gaps noted. E.g., during the time of runaway parallel market, we were very active, give advice on what can be done to tame it. That's why it's now stable. We will not say it's us who did it. We never claim any credit for anything. But those who know, they really thank us. We've done studies on trade-based money laundering, fraud, and other things, which has helped law enforcement in tackling this. When I come to challenges, we can't have successes without challenges. So we do have our challenges. Our major challenge is rapid holding data over. We are collecting a lot of data in the effort. So collection of data, you need then to analyze it. So there has been exponential increase in reporting volumes, STR, CTR, other threshold reports, and these high volumes resulting in high volumes of low quality and low value reports, manual analysis becoming unsustainable, because that's what we want. In that whole load of data, we want to be able to identify the suspicious cases, valuable suspicious cases, which are independent. So when the data, as it grows bigger and bigger, it's difficult to pick what you want to pick. So, and also increasing complexity of financial crime. As I told you, when we started, fraud was just a fraud of forging checks, forging these papers they call RTGS, application forms, and so forth. But now we don't see that anymore. Now we're seeing cyber-enabled fraud. We're seeing business email compromise. We're seeing scams being perpetrated by scam centers in Southeast Asia, stealing money from our people and so forth. So that is the type of crime that we're seeing. So financial crime is becoming more complex. And as I have indicated, it's not just during the time of Al Capone. Now they are professional. You find when you get a criminal, you find most probably he will have a legal opinion. Whatever he's doing, there is a legal opinion. You say, no, if you do this and that, you will not report on it. See, there are accountants there. who will be helping the criminal know how to launder money and so on. So it's becoming complex. Then there is challenge also of limited resources. Resources can never be enough and capacity constraint. Therefore, you continue to face insufficient human resources, funding, technical infrastructure, skills gaps in advanced analytics, and emerging technologies such as blockchain. Many FIUs cannot keep pace with growing mandate work. And as you can see, everyone thinks the FIU can do anything. Whenever there is a problem, they call us. These people are doing this and that and that. Can't you do something? People think we can actually go and arrest people and put them in jail and so on. So as challenges come, there is always overload on FIU, and we end up getting other additional mandates or additional duties. Yeah. So data access and information silos, we do face those data silos and so forth in general, but in terms of our law right now, gives us access to most of the data that we need. Then international cooperation challenges, we used to have challenges. Sometimes some countries will not respond to you. If you are not a member of Egmont, they say we don't want to talk to you, or something like that. But now being in Egmont, we are getting access to a lot of information in various parts of the world. But international cooperation can be a challenge. That's why Egmont has got those strict rules to say you must respond. So there are others who do not respond, and so those are challenges. Beneficial ownership, transparent gaps. This beneficial ownership thing is a new thing. So even here in Zimbabwe, we've amended our law, the Companies Act, we've amended it to introduce beneficial ownership. I'm sure you're aware of the current re-registration of companies, where companies now need to submit beneficial ownership information. But it is moving at a slower pace. And it's not just in Zimbabwe, it's a challenge ever. So you may not find beneficial ownership information to identify the true owners of criminal enterprise, even from other countries. Confidentiality, data protection, as I indicated, our data needs to be protected because criminals are very interested. They are interested to know what we know about them, or they're interested to destroy what we have on them. So we have to invest in data protection. Then performance measurement difficulties. We are always blamed for everything, and we are not praised for something that we know. For example, our work we receive, analyze, and shield. When law enforcement doesn't do very well, people tend to blame the FIU. When country doesn't do very well in the mutual evaluation exercise, people will blame the FIU. Yet, if you look at the immediate outcomes I was showing, the focal areas, they are looking at various things. Yes, they are looking at international cooperation, which is done by others, even investigation done by the police and so on. So that's one of the challenges that we face. Then I go to areas of collaboration with academia and others. We want partners on research into emerging money laundering risks, sector vulnerabilities, illicit financial flows, and the effectiveness of preventive measures. Supporting internships, guest lectures, curriculum, I think this is what we can give. Curriculum development, joint publications to build long-term AML safety expertise and analytical capability between the university and FIU. We need to run financial crime awareness campaigns for people to be aware. Ethics and integrity programs and simplified guidance materials for businesses, students, wider public. We also need to promote trusted channels for information exchange, stakeholder consultations, and collaborative problem solving on barriers to effective AML CFT implementation. When the DG really spoke on the consequences of money laundering, I have a slide here on the consequences of money laundering. I'm sure you're aware the negative consequences. The first thing is international sanctions. If you are not doing well in the mutual evaluation in found slacking, you may face sanctions. Fail to implement international standards, then you can lose control of economic policy if money laundering grows to sustainable levels. Because money launderers can manipulate currency, they can manipulate interest rates, they can even destabilize economies. Money launderers. Another adverse consequence, erosion of public trust. The presence of money laundering can erode public trust in financial institutions. Money laundering grows to unsustainable levels, public trust can be lost. Then it can also distort markets. It can lead to misallocation of resources, economic bubbles, financial crisis, and misallocating capital away from productive sector, leading to long-term economic balance. Another consequence is deterrence of foreign and local investment. If a country is known to be very weak on AML controls, foreign investors won't want to come there because it threatens the value of their investment through distortion that I mentioned above. Reduce tax revenues. If it is a country of criminals, they don't pay tax, so tax revenues go down. Increase the costs. Businesses may incur higher costs due to implementing stricter AML controls. When Mr. Nue comes with compliance rules and cost to business, which can increase costs. Then there are social and economic inequality. Financial crimes can disproportionately harm vulnerable populations, leading to increased social inequalities. They can also contribute to poverty, homelessness, debt. And of course, supports criminal activity. There is money laundering, a lot of money laundering, and you are a haven for money launderers. You just invite more and more criminals in the country. They becomes their own. One of the problems, we want even to run it. And when crime grows, there will be violence, the proliferation of crime, which destroys the country. Then it damages the private sector, because when a launderer comes in with lots of money, he can undercut the legitimate business. Al Capone's laundromat, I think it was very cheap, because he doesn't mind the cost really of laundering the shirts. All he wants is to clean his money. So they undercut legitimate business, offering products below cost, hindering economic development. So those are negative consequences. So I spoke about the National Anti-Money Laundering. So how are we structured? How do we work? We're in FIU, we are in the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, but we're independent, operationally independent from the Reserve Bank. The governor doesn't instruct us on anything we receive, analyze, and disseminate as we wish. But how are we structured now to drive the country's MLCFT? So on top, we've got the National Anti-Money Laundering Advisory Committee. This is a committee, it's a national committee that advises not just the Minister of Finance, all ministers we deal with law enforcement on policies for money laundering and TIA, and performing any other functions conferred to imposed by the committee, by the MPC and so on. So this is the policy level board. It is comprised of the heads of ministry, heads like Commissioner General of Police, the head of ZIMRA, the Secretary of Finance, Secretary for Home Affairs, and so forth. Those big people, they are in the National Anti-Money Laundering Advisory Committee. It's a high-level advisory committee. Members are appointed by the Minister of Finance, and the members are drawn from even CSA is also there. Yeah, the head of IPEC, the head of Sexim, they are part of that committee. It's chaired by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development. It meets quarterly. Yeah. Then below the National Task Force, then the NAMLA, there is the National Task Force of AMCFT. Again, this is it is comprised of all government departments, ministries that deal with law enforcement. All of them are in the task force. It's established under 12D MLPC Act, responsible for promotion of national cooperation and coordination among members. Because you can't fight money laundering, financial crime on your own, because it's a crime that is committed by networks. Say it detects networks, take down networks. So we have coordinated law enforcement, work together to preach out two cases in groups, teams. So the National Task Force does it for us. So the NTF consists of subcommittees which are responsible for operationalization of AML safety activity. Compliance subcommittee, law enforcement and prosecution subcommittee, show ownership, various subcommittees on various focal areas. And the task force meets quarterly as often as necessary, at least once every quarter. That one is just on the value chain of how money laundering is fought. So preventive measures begin with, then we have detection, investigation, prosecution, then the deterrent, that is the judges. Because we are required to make sure that anyone who is caught and convicted must give stiff, proportionate, dissuasive sentence. That is the judge. So the CFT value chain, it has preventive measures, accountable institution, supervisors, the detection, FIU and law enforcement, investigations by law enforcement assisted by FIU, prosecution by the courts working with the law enforcement, deterrence, the magistrates and the judges, and confiscation with the asset forfeiture unit in the NPA, because they've realized that if you just catch someone committing money laundering and you send the person to jail after, you check Al Capone, maybe Pablo Escobar, at 420 million per week, you take him, send him to jail, he's comfortable to spend 10 years in jail, as long as he comes back and he enjoys his money. Whereas he knows his family, even if he dies there, his family. But we all work for our families. So I will do that. So we are required to go after even the process of crime and profits from those processes, and it is called criminal. That's done by the asset forfeiture unit in the NPM collaboration with the investigators. There I'm talking of the FIU of the future. Sure, young people here want to know what an FIU in the future will look like and whether they may want to be part of that FIU. So, well, he wants to be part of that. So they are moving from the old FIU, they were administrative units, they were just administrative, receive information, analyze maybe manually or use some tools and so forth. But where we are going with the data that we want to migrate into intelligence hubs and then the national and international AME or CFP hubs that work domestically and internationally. You know, other foreign FIUs, law enforcement, and so forth, driven by them. So the defining the feature of FIUs will transition from amassing a large volume of data, such as STRs, to specializing on filtering, prioritizing, contextualizing, and explaining the relevant data. In other words, we'll be handling a lot of data, but we should pick important data that we can use for detection of financial crime. Analytical value now will increasingly shift from finding information, those questions we are talking about, asking the right intelligence question, setting hypotheses, and guiding automated systems towards what matters in the pursuit against financial crime. And we are talking of probabilistic intelligence. In our business, when we do analysis, we are not so much interested, and we, as we go into the future, will be less interested in doing a good report where you write all the things, you draw diagrams and so forth, you give to the police officer so that he can just maybe extract from there and come up, finish it. Okay, it will never be like that, because movement of money is becoming faster and faster, and it's being aided by AI. So probabilistic intelligence, it means accepting that most intelligent judgment, we use intelligence, we get 1, 2, 3, and we estimate this, and we want to share fast with our law enforcement. Structured assessment of likelihood based on incomplete, noise, and involving information. Instead of asking, is this money laundered? The analyst should ask, how likely is it that this activity is linked to ML, predicate crime, given what we currently know? And if the answer is highly likely, we want to share with law enforcement in advance so that they know, and we tell them we're still doing more here. We tell them, look for this and that, we're looking for this, and we develop it so that they get away of the case faster rather than waiting for a perfect thing. So, gradual dissemination. Dissemination should be understood as continuous activity rather than a single event that will disseminate case code number 102 of 2026. But we'd rather say now what we have is just a bit of this, let's share, then we do a follow-up and so forth. What it means is we'll be working more closely with the law enforcement as they develop their investigation and develop our analysis. So this is meant to prompt investigative action faster, and not to present a finished narrative, but rather just give a tip, say that there is something interesting in this stuff. You see. So early signals, partial networks, or anomalous patterns may already justify investigative attention, complementing the probabilistic nature of the intelligence. So that's where we are going. And strategic intelligence analysis will become very important now, because we're tactical, when we receive reports, we send strategic, then look at tactical and see what trend is let's publish that. Here we're going strategic analysis will be leading the way to say, okay, let's look at this trend. There is a risk people. Let us then take it through a proper study. We do a study, we identify a pattern, law enforcement go after that fact. Like what happened with the recent study I'm talking about. We started the growth of the fuel sector, we found that the fuel sector was being partly driven to some extent by gold smuggling and so forth. So law enforcement started operating to target fuel dealers in those risky areas. You see, they start following. They don't wait for an STR. Whilst banks will be looking at their fuel dealers on their book and so forth, they're already targeting them. So it's more effective. That is what will happen in the future. So strategic intelligence evolved not only to an outward-facing function, but an internal drive of change. Internally, it should guide the identification of cases within the FIU. Meaning partnership. FIUs will increasingly function as coordinators of intelligence logic across authorities. That coordination will become stronger. This implies shaping common risk language, aligning indicators, and helping other authorities interpret financial intelligence, right? Resulting in more joint analytical products, more embedded analysts. That means analysts will be working closely with enforcement, even being part of the investigation teams, questioning witnesses of the police, and more responsible for ensuring that intelligence flows are two-way rather than extractive. Extractive meaning coming just from the FI going the other side, but it must come from either side. Domestically, FIUs act as integrators of intelligence across authorities that have different mandates, cultures, and incentives. By investing in relationship management, joint analytical exercises, these are now encouraged. Embedded liaison functions and shared learning. So we have to do analysis together with the law enforcement, even with the foreign counterparts. When you see a trend or a risk that is shared by two jurisdictions, we are now able to do joint analysis. We look from their end and our end in sharing information in project. Internationally, FIUs will need to participate more frequently in multilateral problem-focused cooperation, where information is pooled around a shared threat rather than exchanged sequentially between counterparts. Joint analysis teams and international PPPs. So PPPs, these are private-public partnerships. We have noted that how we are doing our work, we have to get information from the reporting entity, look at it, then we give to the law enforcement. But evolving trend now is when we have a problem, we should be able to sit in the same FIU in the center, the reporting entities on the other side, the law enforcement on the other side. Law enforcement verbalize their problem. FIU, we are looking after for these people and so forth. The banks will be hearing. They will be hearing the request. They can even come through and say, no, but what you are looking at the wrong place. This here, these records and so forth and so forth. And information will move fast. More trust building, more cooperation with the private sector, not just domestic private sector, even foreign private sector. Because financial crime, it is what serious adverse consequences on the global economy. So in summary, that picture there of the future is, see that guy, that is the FIU. All that data, those charts and everything is magnifying glasses. So you say an FIU is a bit of an investigator. Because if you are not an investigator, you will not know the type of evidence that the law enforcement needs. So you have to anticipate the requirements and needs of the law. Part investigator, you have to part accountant because you are going to deal with a lot of financial data that you analyze to make sense and prove financial. And also a fortune teller, because you have to tell them what is going to happen in the future. And so that is the FIU for you. So in conclusion, the future FIU is not defined by forms, thresholds, or databases, but by its ability to integrate data, technology, people, and partnerships into coherent intelligence outcomes, to adapt rapidly but efficiently without leaving aside intelligence or partnerships that are difficult to integrate. With that, I thank you. That's my
Yeah, it was quite detailed, really. Yeah, we learned quite a lot. For future financial intelligence, the employees as well. I think the last word he says they should now evolve the fortune teller. Eventually. So from what he said, just I don't want to summarize it because then I will mess it up. but paid quite a lot. But I also heard that accountants don't be hired by those that illicit businesses, because then the part of is so people are hired by and then so you also notice that if you buy a coke for a terrorist, then you are also supporting terrorists. That's what I also. So don't even say that. So I think we now want to let's get into question. We'll need a few questions. Do you have a roving mic? Roving mic. What I also heard while we're getting into that is that we normally look at those very large transactions. So I think most of some of these people have invested in one way or the other. But my first question, I'll ask this. My first question is, so if you are looking at those large foundations, so I think you should also look at those that have very good foundations of nothing. But why don't they have anything in an economy that is something? So let's have three questions. Then we can, three questions first. So let's have, yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tapio. I'm studying audit and risk management in Part 4. I have a question for the presenter. Sorry, I came late, so I forgot his name. So I wanted to ask something. It involves artificial intelligence. So just for context, my dissertation was focused on AI deepfakes, which is like artificial representations of people that don't exist being put on a digital platform. So what I found was that in the past 3 years since AI took place, there have been increasing situations where a lot of not just financial institutions, but a lot of businesses are falling victim to people now creating fake data, fake PDFs, fake pictures of people. And it even extends to the point where now even banks could receive fake documents of IDs. I'm not sure if you're aware of the situation that happened 2 years ago of the company in Hong Kong that there was a financial officer in a company in Hong Kong that was on a Zoom meeting with about 12 people, and he was instructed to transfer about $25 million USD. And then he found out later on that none of those people actually existed, but they looked exactly like his employees. So I wanted to ask, when it comes to the financial institutions such as like banks, what are what progress has been made? What efforts have been made to, can I say, make AI governance better so that banking institutions don't fall under these risks? And then I guess I have a second part to that question. When you're now looking for graduates trying to go into that, into the financial intelligence unit, what key skills or traits would you want them to have with regards to these emerging technologies, as well as just in general when it comes to where we're headed at the moment? Thank you.
Okay. Let's say, let's say one let you try and cover.
My name is Bob Manchester, the fellow is doing forensic accounting. My question is on my dissertation. My dissertation proposes a forensic framework for maintaining integrity in the banking sector. From your analytical work at the FIU, which forensic techniques gives you the most reliable intelligence between transaction pattern analysis, Beresford law digit testing, or suspicious transaction reporting analysis from the banks themselves?
Okay. Let's have from the lady. But let's try and shorten our questions. We have a session, an interaction session after after this. So we will ask anything there.
Okay, thank you. My question is linked to your questions.
Your name first.
My name is Tanoren Kosi, doing audit and risk management at one. So my question is, you said you are mainly focusing on the big amounts, but what about those small people or small firms who are also involved in money laundering, maybe unknowing? Are you also focusing on educating them or informing them on the risks, like on the future risks of those activities they are carrying out?
I think let's have those answer questions. You know, can we have the road in mind? You understand? You have the mic here.
Oh, thank you very much for the interesting questions. Maybe I'll start with the question from the director of ceremonies. He says you're only focusing big accounts. What about those small ones? Yes, we do. We do look at we call them dormant accounts. We only get interest because there is certain deposits. And our account officers do look at that. All their clients look at them. If anything unusual happens, for a low transacting account, suddenly becomes very, they are required to understand what is happening, whether it is. So we do look at them. Then there's a difficult one from Tapio on AI and fake data causing fake IDs and so forth. Yes, I want to acknowledge, yes, we are aware of those challenges posed by AI, deepfakes, and so forth. And what efforts have been made by banks to make AI governance better? My friend, Mr. New, who helped me on that, he supervises the banks. But you are right that banks, because the control starts, the preventive measures by the accountable institutions, are the ones who then respond to that risk on an ongoing basis to see what they can do. So I don't know whether Mr. wants to take it now. Maybe I can answer a few more questions. Then yeah. That one I'm packing it for Mr. What key skills are needed by the FIU? So I said you have to be accountant, investigator, and a fortune teller. But unfortunately, fortune teller, the fortune telling is no. But normally what we're doing in the FIU here, we want a diverse. Currently, in analysis, we have people with a legal background, with a IT background, people with accounting, economics. We even have one or two actuaries there. Diverse experience, someone coming from all sectors of those accountable sectors. Very interesting. So we accepted anyone. Actually, our qualification is a finance, what is it? A business degree. We can train you to become anything if you are very interested in our work. We accept that you can't have a qualification as a fortune teller, so we can't recruit a fortune teller. The fortune teller part will make you in the FIU. So everyone is encouraged to apply to join the FIU. Then there is from Tando, you were talking of small firms and whether we are trained on this. Thank you very much for that question. Currently, what we have been doing, we've been focusing on accountable institutions, training them on this so that they are aware and we equip them to identify suspicious transactions, identify financial crime. We've also been training law enforcement to enable them, capacitate them, to enable them to investigate financial crime, as well as, of course, our internal staff to train them on how to analyze data and so forth. We really don't have any obligation companies and so I believe that those ones, they train everyone should abide by the law. We can't train people to abide. They should we are naturally expected to abide by the law. But well, thank you for that suggestion. Maybe I'll talk to the DG whether we can extend
to that area. Because what we really want is to prevent crime from happening. Then there's another difficult one to get the name of this guy on forensic for integrity, which forensic techniques are best. Which forensics is best for identification of STM. No, we'll be very happy to see your study and what you recommend to be the best. Maybe Mr. Nwe will want to share that with banks to invest in that technology to enable. Because what we want is accountable institutions to actually identify. So we don't really prescribe on techniques to use. Our job is to tell them on the risk of money laundering, how it is happening, and how they can protect themselves. But maybe in the future, we'll be also required to talk about techniques and so forth. Maybe that would be a good thing to do. So the remaining questions, I don't know that there is something I've left out that you may want to deal with before you research.
I think you have pretty much covered everything that I had from the floor. But maybe again on the question where the lady was worried about us focusing on the bigger firms and the bigger transactions as well. The FIU is not there to replace. When FIUs came into place, there were always laws where police can enforce those laws. So the FIU tends to take a strategic approach and deal with the areas that have the biggest negative impact to the economy. But the laws, if someone commits a small crime, they still police pursue, can also do it effectively. We just want, as FIU, to focus resources on the impact areas at the end of the day, but it doesn't mean everything else is ignored by crime enforcement. It's also dealt with. Just thought I'd end with that, but I think everything sounded like it had been covered. Some of them we can still have them bilateral as well. Right, Mr. Nwe?
I think it was to do with Chapo's question. I think it has been covered. What I may just add is that banks require different place controls. So when it comes to onboarding their customers, there's a requirement for them to identify their customers and verify the identity of customers using reliable sources. So what most banks have done now is they are now linked with the civil. So when you come in to open your account, they won't tell you, but they'll then check with the civil registry. So if you have an identity document that has been forged, they can pick it up and they want to onboard you and they'll report to the FIU. Then the law also allows them to do what we call non-face-to-face onboarding, but the requirement is that the measures or the controls they put in place should be the same as if they're doing face-to-face onboarding. So what we've seen and before they do that, they approach their regulators, they approach us to get approval, and we check the controls they've put in place. So one of the controls they've put in place is what they call a liveness check, which are controlled, they have embedded. So if you're being onboarded land face-to-face, these controls will detect if it's a robot and it's not a human being, and it can reflect and then they can go ahead and onboard. Then others, even if you do non-face-to-face onboarding, they also have other controls. For example, you will not activate your account until you come in person to get the bank card, or someone has delivered a bank card and then they've checked if you actually exist. So there are a number of controls they've put in.
You might be better than
Yes.
okay, I will have you and it's probably you, and then that's it. We'll interact. There's an interaction session after this. You are all required to meet 3 o'clock. So it's a long session. So all your questions will be granted. Yes, can you begin first and then
Okay, my name is Brandon. I'm doing data science. I heard they said talking about the trading in the market. So I wanted to know the role they play in the stock market. The role they play in the stock market and trading in market.
Good morning. My name is Mabusule and I'm doing AI. My question is concerned with how confident you are with information that is produced from AI native solutions in the company and the adoption that you've made with introducing AI tools in the company. Thank you.
Can I have the mic? Please. So I think we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So, first question from Brandon, the data scientist, role played by FIUs in the stock market. So, the FIU, we really don't have any that we play in the stock market. But what we do is we recognize the security, the whole security sector is an accountable sector that should be identifying what's for us, the transaction. So that sector is supervised through the Security Exchange Commission of Zimbabwe. That is the one that supervises for AML, the duties of regulation, AML CFT supervision as well. So that is our, we recognize that is the area that President Moshun is volunteers to run the management of terrorist financiers to raise funds. So we are aware of that, and it's regulated by states. Then the second question from Mr. Zhu on AI, I didn't quite get this. He said, how confident are you with information produced by AI and how far we have gone in adopting AI? So in the FIU, yes, we are in a lot of data and we are really looking into using AI to help our analysis. Yeah, so that is what we are doing. At the moment, we do have some machine learning that we use, especially for risk rating of suspicious transactions, selecting the reports that we get. We use machine learning, but it's very guarded. That machine learning is not autonomous, it just flags that this. But we do have human analysts who review everything. That way we use those tools, we have humans who go through and verify whether this is what we call it, is it a true positive or a false positive? So sometimes systems can flag a false positive, but the human analysts will look at that. That's how we are managing. And we are cautiously adopting, and as we go, as we go. That's how we are dealing with that.
So again, this area of AI is a fast evolving field where most FIUs around the world are still working out in terms of the best AI technologies to adopt. So we are still in that space where I think Mr. Shigaba mentioned that we have now accumulated lots of data that we are now finding difficult to analyze with the tools that we have. This is where we've started to really seriously think about which AI tools are going to be best for us. So it's an area that we are invested in at the moment to identify the appropriate IT tools. There are too many of them out there, and many of them cannot be plug and play. We have seen lots of vendors coming through. We can still do this, we can still do that. But again, that's one area where we can still work with universities, university students to see how best we can actually use AI tools to.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. My name is Keith Samembe, a part 2 student doing forensic accounting. Firstly, I would like to thank you for addressing us in this wonderful presentation. I managed to notice that in your presentation, you are willing to collaborate with students, but in as much as you are willing to collaborate with students, I'd like to ask you, like, how are you planning to go about it? Because in as much as I understand, there have been like some letters that have been written to you asking you to come and address us in some areas because you are doing forensic accounting. So there is so much ground that we need you to address, that we need to understand from you. So I don't know how are you going to go about it because of the interaction, I think because of the schedules that you have, you might be very busy. So would like to know how best can we interact with you and manage to schedule some seminars more of this kind, because some of our students, they don't know about FIU. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, very good question. That's exactly why we decided to do this occasion. We started having conversations. I'm not sure of the letters who wrote them and to who. Obviously, they are coming from individual students. Try to answer some of them, but probably it's not very easy if you are not coming in an organized and structured way as an institution. But I think part of that conversation is why also we have scheduled a session through this afternoon, so that we can have those conversations as to how best you can propose. If you have some contributions you can make, then we can have those discussions. But that is precisely why we have done this engagement with the University of Zimbabwe, so that we open those conversations. We don't have answers yet as to how we are going to cooperate. It's probably a starting point to have that conversation today.
Okay, thank you so much.
The Director General and the team from RBZ. So I think you can agree with me, this has been quite useful, isn't it? And with the power vested in me, I propose that next semester, for those who will be here, we have a public lecture. I think it will be more likely to do the public. With this one, like in awareness, right? We are now aware there's more that we really need. So right now, to close our session, we'll have closing remarks from Chairperson of the Finance, Department of Finance and Accounting, Dr. Kukurumze. You can give me remarks.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. My task is very simple. To give a closing remarks of the proceedings before us. First and foremost, I would want to extend my gratitude to the Vice Chancellor of the institution, in absentia, Professor Dr. Mafumo, for allowing the financial intelligence unit to host us or to give us this presentation. I would also want to thank the Director General for the Financial Intelligence Unit, Mr. Peresa, for his wise counsel. And what was key from his presentation was the issue to do with integrity. That as citizens, we must always uphold that. And we must run away from profiteering from crime. Those are the key things that I managed to get from his presentation. And I would also want to thank the Deputy Director, Mr. Shigaba. He gave us the main menu for this for the day. I think he did manage to clearly give us how money laundering started, the history of money laundering, and he managed to clarify certain words that were a bit hazy. A lot of people, like things to do with money laundering, terrorism financing, proliferation financing, and also he managed to give us an architecture of what financial intelligence unit stands for in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Deputy Director, for that. I think it was quite insightful, particularly those 5 departments that we have got and their roles that they play in the economy. I was
I was thrilled by your call for collaborating with the University of Zimbabwe in those areas, like research, guest lecturing, and you also said you are going to support internship. And let me just allude to the fact that as Department of Finance and Accounting, we've tried to deepen our accounting. So it's not accounting per se. And I think from the questions that you got, some saying audit and risk management, forensic accounting. So all what we're trying is to try to deepen the accounting discipline. And I promise you that we provide the resources for the financial intelligence. And right now, block 4, the majority are writing the exams, and after writing the exams, we are going to release them. For the tutors, they are going for internship. And also have 4 tutors, the finalists, they are ready to provide the services to the financial intelligence unit. So we are really waiting for this kind of collaboration. And for guest lectures, over the semester, we received quite a number of practitioners from the industry. And we like that experience, particularly the learners. They will be able to relate what we teach them in the classroom and what is happening in the industry. So we hope that the collaborations will be expedited so that we see these MOUs implemented. So I would also want to thank our dean for giving the direction for the program. In the director of ceremonies, I think you did manage to make sure that the program flows from start right up to the end. The fellow chairpersons from the department, in the faculty, Dr. Mpambile, Director, Makumbe, Tourism, Cynthia, Dr. Sinkeni. So I would want to thank you for supporting our program. I think as a department with the anchor program for this awareness, and we would want to thank you for providing cover for us. I need to thank you, the students that have come for this program. I know some of you had to juggle between preparing for the exam and coming for this session, but I would want to thank you for creating time. I think you have had quite important issues, insightful issues that are very necessary. And I think the conversations that have been created from the financial intelligence unit, I think it's the start of greater things that have come between the Department of Finance and Accounting and the Finance Intelligence Unit. Then, Madam, I would want to thank you, your team, for gracing us. And this is the beginning for more things to come between ourselves and the financial intelligence. Otherwise, I thank you all and enjoy the rest of the proceedings.
Thank you, Dr. Magurumize. I think we have come to the end of the program. Very exciting, but obviously, it's not very to now, now we are, so there's a trend, they put a trend out there. So there's a trend out, we go out every day. There's a trend. So there will be an interaction session. There are quite a number of them. They see the VDP. Answer with most of the questions. Talking to those who want to go to stagnant, they want to you, but they will talk to you. Those who have finished, they can also talk to you. So you go out there and then you interact with them. So for now, what I will do is ask the ITV platform to then go out first and then you follow it. The photoshoot is out there. So there's a photo shoot. So everyone, so I put the platform, I created the platform first, and then we all go out, we take photos, and so on. Thank you very much. And after that, we go for the interaction. Thank you very much for coming.